German Shepherd found freezing outside. Baby girl's unexpected reaction went viral. Think you've seen kindness? Think again. What happens when a child, with nothing but pure heart, saves a life in the most incredible way? You'll be shocked, touched, and inspired. Trust me, this is a story you won't forget. Like, share, and subscribe. This one's for the ages. It was a cold winter's morning in a small town, a town where life moved at a slower pace, where people knew each other by name, and where the harshness of the world outside felt a little distant. But that morning, something that would change everything for one family and a poor, freezing German Shepherd was about to unfold. Outside, a storm had been raging all night. The winds howled, and the snow seemed to come down in thick, angry sheets, coating everything in a blanket of white. As the world slept, a mother and her young daughter were about to make a discovery that would not only melt hearts but also spark a viral sensation that would have the world talking. In the middle of all the snow and the icy cold, there lay a dog, its fur matted, its body shivering, its eyes filled with an unfathomable sadness. The poor German Shepherd had been abandoned. No warmth, no shelter, just the cruel bite of the freezing weather. But then, something unexpected happened. A little girl, no older than 5, ventured outside into the cold, her tiny boots crunching against the snow. She was oblivious to the freezing temperatures, her heart focused solely on what lay before her, a dog in need. What happened next, what this little girl did, would move millions to tears and ignite a conversation about love, kindness, and the pure, untainted compassion of children. It's a moment that not only saved a life but went viral across the globe, with people from all walks of life watching, sharing, and celebrating this act of unexpected kindness. The wind howled outside the small, quiet house nestled on the edge of a sleepy town, the kind of place where everyone knows each other's name. The trees swayed violently, their branches creaking under the pressure of the storm, while the pale winter sun barely made a dent against the heavy clouds. The air was frigid, biting at the skin and numbing the fingers with each gust. Snowflakes danced through the air like tiny dancers, falling in perfect unison to cover the earth in a thick, white blanket. It was a day when nature seemed to show its raw, unforgiving power. The world outside had turned into a cold, inhospitable place, and most people remained indoors, snuggled in their blankets, keeping warm by the fireplace. But even in such dire conditions, there was one little soul who didn't mind the harshness of the day. In the warmth of the house, 5-year-old Emily was busy playing with her favorite toy animals on the carpet, her imagination running wild as she created stories where she was the hero, rescuing the creatures from danger. Despite the world outside being swallowed by snow and ice, her heart remained open, full of love for every animal she could find. It was in her nature to care. Whether it was a stray cat passing by or a dog she saw on TV, Emily's face would light up in a way that was unmistakable, a spark of innocence, of pure, unconditional love. Her mother, Sarah, watched her from the kitchen window, her heart filled with warmth as she saw Emily so content. It wasn't often that Emily ventured outside on such cold days, preferring the comfort of her toys and the safety of their home. But there was something different about today. Emily seemed restless, her tiny feet shifting from one side of the living room to the other, glancing outside with wonder. As the day grew darker, Emily's curiosity got the best of her. She put on her thick, puffy coat, her mittens, and her boots, determined to explore the snowy world that had so captured her attention. Her mother called after her, "Be careful, sweetie, don't stay outside too long. It's too cold." But Emily didn't hear her, her attention fully captured by the sight of the world beyond the house. She opened the door and stepped into the harsh cold, the snow crunching under her boots with every step. The snowflakes felt heavy against her face, biting at her cheeks as the wind tugged at her hair. But Emily was undeterred. She loved the cold. She loved the way the world seemed to hold its breath under the blanket of snow, as if waiting for something miraculous to happen. And today, something miraculous was about to unfold. As Emily wandered further into the yard, the towering trees, once full of life and energy, now stood still, their limbs weighed down by the snow. The wind seemed to scream its fury as it rushed past her, but Emily kept going, her little body determined to explore. She was a curious soul, always in search of new adventures, even in the most unlikely of circumstances. It was then, as she wandered towards the far side of the yard, that Emily stopped in her tracks. Her eyes widened as she saw something lying motionless on the ground, partially hidden beneath the snow. It was a dog. But not just any dog. It was a German Shepherd, its once vibrant fur matted and covered in snow, its body frozen in place. At first, Emily thought it might be asleep. Maybe it was just taking a nap, tired from the cold, or playing in the snow just like she had. But as she took a few steps closer, her heart skipped a beat. The dog wasn't moving. Its body was thin, fragile, and it lay still on the snow, too still for comfort. She could see its shallow breaths, labored and weak, its body trembling as the cold continued to seep in, wrapping its icy fingers around the dog's fragile form. Her heart clenched. It wasn't just a dog, it was a creature in need, a creature who had been left behind to suffer in the cold. And in that moment, Emily's instincts kicked in. She couldn't just walk away. She couldn't ignore the plea for help that seemed to radiate from the German Shepherd's eyes. The animal was struggling, its survival hanging in the balance, and Emily was the only one there to help. The snow beneath her boots seemed to grow heavier, each step a little harder to take as she approached the freezing dog. The world around her seemed to disappear, fading into the background, as her focus narrowed to the animal before her. This wasn't just an innocent game or a curiosity anymore. This was real. This was a moment of life and death, a moment where her heart had to guide her actions. Her little hands trembled, but there was no hesitation in her heart. The German Shepherd was waiting for help, and Emily, with her kind heart, was the one who was going to give it. Before Emily found the freezing German Shepherd lying in the snow, the dog's life had been one filled with hardship, abandonment, and neglect. Her story didn't start in the warmth of a loving home or with gentle hands patting her fur. No, her story began in a far darker place, a place where survival was not a given and kindness was a rarity. Luna, as she would come to be called, had once belonged to a family, or at least that's what she thought. She was born in a small town not far from where Emily found her, a town that was all too familiar with the darker side of life. Luna's first days were filled with warmth and the sounds of children's laughter. She grew up in a backyard, surrounded by love. Her owners, initially, were kind, taking care of her with food, water, and the occasional game of fetch. She was the epitome of joy and energy, always excited to greet everyone and eager to play. She was a good dog, loyal, obedient, and always watching over her family. Her shiny coat and lively eyes reflected the happiness of a young pup. But as time went on, things began to change. Her owners, who had once been caring, became distant and preoccupied. The family moved to a new city, a place that was bustling with people, and with it came more responsibilities and less attention to Luna's well-being. At first, the adjustments were subtle. She noticed fewer walks, less time spent with her family. Her food bowl didn't get filled as regularly, and the space in the backyard that she once played in now felt empty and cold. One winter, Luna's life took a cruel turn. The family, facing mounting financial struggles, decided they couldn't afford to keep her anymore. The once beloved dog was now viewed as a burden, something that was too expensive to care for. One fateful night, in the harsh cold of winter, the family made a decision that would haunt them forever. They drove Luna to the outskirts of town, away from the warmth of their home and their love. They left her there, abandoned in the wilderness, alone with only the cold to keep her company. They never looked back. Luna's world turned into a cruel blur of cold winds, frozen nights, and the smell of distant cars passing by without a second glance. She had no idea where she was or how to survive in the harsh environment she found herself in. The once carefree dog was now lost in a world of despair, without a friend or a family to turn to. Every day became a fight for survival, a constant search for food and warmth. The worst part was the silence. The silence of abandonment, the absence of a loving hand to comfort her when she was cold or scared. She no longer had the warmth of her family, no longer had a bed to sleep on. She spent her nights in the cold, her body trembling, trying to find shelter wherever she could, whether that meant hiding under bushes or behind abandoned buildings. The days bled into one another as Luna became more and more withdrawn, her energy sapped by the harsh elements. But Luna was a survivor, and no matter how broken she felt inside, she kept pushing forward. She learned how to forage for food, scavenging from trash cans and hoping for scraps from kind strangers who might offer her something to eat. But those moments were few and far between. Most people ignored her. No one cared for the abandoned dog. The longer Luna wandered the streets, the weaker she became, her fur matted and dirty, her body thin and gaunt from lack of food. Her eyes, once full of joy, became hollow and distant, searching the streets for any sign of help, but finding none. It seemed as if the world had turned its back on her, leaving her to suffer in silence. As the days turned into weeks, Luna's struggle to survive intensified. The biting cold of winter was relentless. Snowstorms swept through the town, leaving the landscape covered in a thick layer of snow that made it even harder to find food or shelter. The winter months were a cruel and unforgiving test for Luna. The cold seemed to seep into her bones, each gust of wind cutting through her fur, chilling her to the core. Yet, despite the agony that she endured, she never gave up. She became a shadow in the town, a forgotten ghost who wandered the streets in search of warmth. Her once thick coat had become matted and clumped with dirt, frozen in places by the harsh winds. Her paws, once soft and strong, were now cracked and raw from walking on the icy ground. Every step was a painful reminder of how far she had fallen from the life she once knew. At night, when the temperatures dropped even further, Luna would find whatever shelter she could. Sometimes she would seek refuge in abandoned buildings, hiding beneath old furniture, or burrowing into a pile of discarded blankets in the back of an alley. Other times, she found solace in the forest just outside the town, where she could curl up under a tree and try to escape the relentless cold. But even there, the chill of winter seeped into her bones, and the sounds of the forest filled her with dread, as if the trees themselves were watching her suffer. Food was always scarce. Luna learned to scavenge, rummaging through trash cans, hoping for the scraps left behind by others. But food wasn't always plentiful, and sometimes she went days without eating. Her body weakened, her ribs showing clearly beneath her fur. Hunger gnawed at her constantly, but Luna never gave up. She learned to rely on her instincts, becoming more resourceful as the days went on. She hunted small animals, rabbits, squirrels, anything she could catch, just to keep herself alive. But even the survival instincts of a German shepherd couldn't prepare her for the brutal, unrelenting weather. The snowstorms that hit the area were especially brutal, turning the world into a frozen wasteland. On those days, Luna could do nothing but huddle against a tree, hoping for the storm to pass, knowing full well that the cold was taking a toll on her body. She had no way of keeping warm, no shelter to protect her. She shivered through each night, praying for the storm to end. Despite her desperate situation, there was always a glimmer of hope in Luna's eyes. She was determined to survive, determined to find a way back to safety, even if she didn't know where that safety might be. She had been abandoned, left to fend for herself, but she was strong. She was a fighter, and yet the pain of being alone was always there. Luna longed for the companionship she had once known, for the human touch that had been her solace. She wanted to be loved again, to have a family that would care for her. But as each day passed, that hope seemed to slip further and further away, as if the world had forgotten her. The struggle continued, each day a new battle against the elements, against hunger, against the loneliness that threatened to consume her. But Luna's spirit remained unbroken. No matter how cold it got, no matter how hungry she was, she never stopped moving forward, never stopped searching for that one moment of kindness that could change everything. And then, one cold winter day, everything changed. It was the first snowstorm of the season, and the world outside was covered in a blanket of pure white. The chill in the air seemed to freeze everything in its path, but for Emily, the cold wasn't enough to stop her from playing outside. At just 2 years old, Emily's world was a place of wonder, where every snowflake was a tiny miracle and every animal she encountered was a potential friend. Her little hands, red from the cold, eagerly scooped up handfuls of snow, throwing it into the air and laughing as it fell back down, covering her in a layer of frosty flakes. Emily had always been a curious child, and her love for animals had already bloomed in the early years of her life. She would smile at every stray cat that wandered by, coo at birds perched on the windowsill, and wave at every dog that passed her by on a leash. She was a child full of innocence, unaware of the world's harsh realities but very much aware of its beauty. And today, as she played in the snow, that innocence was about to lead her into a moment she would never forget. While her mother hung laundry inside and prepared dinner, Emily wandered a little farther from their home, her little boots crunching in the fresh snow. She was on a mission, but she didn't know what the mission was, only that the world around her felt quiet and strange, like something wasn't quite right. As she walked near the edge of the yard, something caught her eye. Lying in the snow, almost camouflaged by the white blanket around her, was a large shape. It wasn't a snowdrift, it was something moving, or at least trying to. Emily paused, a strange flutter of concern tugging at her chest. She was too young to understand what she was seeing fully, but she recognized distress when she saw it. The dog, its coat matted with mud and snow, barely lifted its head when it saw Emily. Its amber eyes were clouded with pain, and its body shivered uncontrollably from the cold. There was something in those eyes that made Emily stop, her small heart squeezing in empathy. She didn't understand the dog's suffering, but she understood its loneliness. And in that moment, Emily made a decision. She would help. She walked slowly toward the dog, her steps tentative as she tried to make sense of the situation. Her confusion was clear in the way she tilted her head, studying the animal carefully. She crouched beside the dog, her tiny fingers reaching out to touch its fur. "Are you cold?" she asked in her babyish voice, her words a tender murmur of concern. The dog's ears flickered, but it didn't move. The baby girl didn't know what to do. She wasn't sure how to make the dog better. All she knew was that she couldn't leave it there. Her heart ached for the animal, and she wished with all her might that she could make it feel better. But what could she do? She was just a little girl, too young to understand the complexities of life and survival. But in that innocence, she held something far more important: empathy. Her unlikely solution. Emily thought for a moment, her brows furrowed in concentration. She had to help somehow. Her small hands fumbled with the strap of her snow jacket as she pulled it off, determined to give the dog warmth. It wasn't much, but in her young mind, anything was better than nothing. She carefully draped the jacket over the dog, her little fingers brushing against its cold body. But the dog didn't respond, didn't even lift its head to acknowledge the gesture. Emily was undeterred. She knew she couldn't stop now. She turned to the house, calling out for her mother. "Mommy! Mommy!" she cried, her voice filled with urgency. But her mother was too far inside to hear, and the snowstorm had muffled her calls. Then, in a moment of pure childish brilliance, Emily decided on another idea. She didn't know if it would help, but it was something, anything, that might make the dog feel loved. With her tiny hands, she picked up her favorite stuffed toy, a soft rabbit that she always carried around. Its fur was soft and warm, and it had been her constant companion for as long as she could remember. She clutched the rabbit tightly for a moment before gently placing it beside the dog, as if offering her comfort in the only way she knew how. "Here," Emily whispered softly, "this is for you. It's soft like you." She backed away slowly, watching the dog, hoping that somehow, some way, this offering would make a difference. For a moment, nothing happened. The dog remained still, too weak to react. But Emily didn't mind. She sat back on her heels and waited, her tiny face etched with concern and a softness beyond her years. The snow continued to fall, swirling in the wind, but Emily's focus remained fixed on the dog, her eyes never leaving the injured creature. Then, to her surprise, the dog began to stir. It slowly lifted its head, its eyes locking with Emily's. There was a softness in the gaze, a spark of understanding that Emily couldn't explain. The baby girl smiled, her face lighting up with a joy that made the coldness around her feel distant, irrelevant. The dog, though still weak, nudged the stuffed rabbit, as if acknowledging the comfort Emily had offered. It was a small gesture, but to Emily, it was everything. The dog's presence, its quiet acceptance, was enough to make her feel like she had done something good, something right. In her innocence, she had given the dog what it needed most: warmth, companionship, and love. The dog, whose name was now Luna, didn't immediately trust Emily. She had been through so much, abandoned, left to die in the cold, forced to fight for every breath in the harsh winter. But there was something about Emily, something in her tender eyes, that began to break through the walls of Luna's battered heart. In the beginning, Luna kept her distance. She was wary, her instincts still too sharp to let down her guard completely. But Emily didn't give up. Every day, she returned to the spot where she had found Luna, bringing more toys, more blankets, and more offerings of warmth. Emily's innocent trust, her unwavering belief in the goodness of the world, was something Luna hadn't encountered in a long time. She had been hurt too many times by the world, but Emily's quiet persistence wore down Luna's resistance, little by little. Over time, the dog grew accustomed to Emily's presence. Slowly, she began to inch closer. Her gaze softened, and she began to allow the little girl to come near her. It wasn't immediate, and there were times when Luna would still pull back, unsure of the world and unsure of the child who had so suddenly appeared in her life. But Emily didn't mind. She continued to approach the dog slowly, offering her kindness in every movement. And then one day, as Emily sat quietly beside her, Luna finally lowered her guard completely. She leaned forward, her body still frail but her trust in the little girl now apparent. She let Emily gently stroke her fur, and for the first time in a long while, Luna felt safe. The weight of the world, of abandonment, suffering, and loneliness, seemed to lift, if only for a moment. It wasn't a moment of grand gestures or heroic acts. It was simply a moment of connection, an unspoken bond that transcended words. The baby girl had given Luna what no one else had, her heart. And in return, Luna gave Emily something equally precious, her trust. As Emily sat beside her, her small fingers lightly tracing the dog's fur, the world seemed a little less cold. The snow continued to fall softly around them, but in that moment, They were both warm, connected by something pure and untouchable. It was the beginning of an unlikely friendship, one that would grow stronger each day, as both Emily and Luna healed from the scars of the past. It was the second day after Emily's discovery of Luna, and the snowstorm had finally subsided, leaving behind a world glittering with ice. Inside their small, cozy house, Emily's parents were trying to get back to their routine. The weather had knocked out the power for most of the morning, and her mother, had spent hours getting the generator up and running while her father, John, cleared the driveway. Despite the busy start to their day, there was an undeniable feeling that something was different. Emily, normally an energetic and chatty child, had been unusually quiet. She'd spent most of the morning sitting near the door, her little face pressed up against the frosty window, and noticed her daughter's distant expression and, as she always did, wondered what was going on in her mind. "Emily," and called softly, walking over to her daughter, who was clutching a stuffed rabbit tightly to her chest. "Are you feeling okay, sweetie?" Emily didn't immediately answer, but after a moment, she slowly turned toward her mother. The concern in her eyes was enough to tug at Anne's heartstrings. Emily had always been a bright, curious child, but now she seemed somber, almost weighed down by something. Anne knelt down in front of her, brushing a stray lock of hair behind her ear. "What's wrong, honey?" Anne asked, her voice laced with gentle curiosity. Emily didn't speak. She simply stood up, holding her toy in one hand, and reached for her mother's hand, pulling her toward the door. John, overhearing the interaction, walked into the room and raised an eyebrow at Emily's serious demeanor. "What's going on, Anne? Everything all right?" And gave him a puzzled look, then followed Emily to the door. Emily opened it slowly, her little face filled with determination. As Anne stepped outside into the cold, she saw something that made her heart stop. Luna, the large German shepherd, was lying on the ground near the tree line, looking weak and worn. Her fur, once a beautiful golden brown, was matted and dirty, and she was huddled as if to protect herself from the cold. Her body trembled slightly, and she looked up at them with dull, exhausted eyes. Anne's breath caught in her throat, and she turned to John, her voice barely a whisper. "What happened? Why is she here?" John stepped forward, his gaze softening as he kneeled next to the dog. "This must be the dog Emily's been telling us about," and knelt beside her husband, her eyes scanning the frail dog. "She's hurt. She looks like she's been through hell." The concern was evident in her voice. Emily stood silently beside them, her little hand clutching the stuffed rabbit tightly, watching the dog with an intensity far beyond her years. "Mommy, I found her," she whispered, as if it was the most natural thing in the world. Anne's heart ached as she looked at her daughter. Emily had always been a tender soul, and the way she looked at Luna, the way she'd taken such responsibility, was a testament to her kind heart. Anne exchanged a glance with John, and without a word, they both knew what they had to do. "She can't stay out here," Anne said softly but firmly. "We need to bring her inside." John nodded, his expression as serious as his wife's. "Let's get her inside and make sure she's okay." The house was filled with the warmth of the hearth, but Luna seemed to be unaware of the comfort that surrounded her. The poor German shepherd was too exhausted to appreciate the warmth of the fire crackling in the living room or the soft, cozy blankets that lay on the couch. Her body was so battered, so worn down by the elements, that even the smell of fresh food cooking in the kitchen couldn't rouse her from her stupor. Anne carefully placed a bowl of warm water beside her. The dog sniffed at it weakly but couldn't muster the strength to lap it up. John, noticing Luna's condition, took charge, helping the dog to drink. "Easy, girl," he murmured, gently lifting her head with a soft hand to encourage her to drink. As Luna slowly lapped at the water, her eyes fluttered open, and there was a flicker of recognition in them. She could hear the tenderness in John's voice, and though she was still too weak to do anything more than just breathe, she felt the kindness in his touch. It wasn't much, but it was the first bit of care she had received in what felt like a lifetime. Emily watched them from a distance, her tiny face filled with compassion. Her little heart had been hurting ever since she found Luna outside, and now that the dog was inside, safe and warm, she could breathe a little easier. Still, she wasn't sure what would happen to Luna. Would she get better? Would she be okay? And, who had always been the practical one, moved quickly to make a plan. "We need to get her cleaned up," she said. "She's covered in dirt, and those injuries look infected. We'll have to wash her and get her some antibiotics." John helped Luna into the small makeshift bed they'd set up on the floor, wrapping her in a soft blanket to keep her warm, and worked quickly, preparing a bath for Luna and gathering everything she would need to tend to her injuries. It wasn't long before the family was fully engaged in helping the dog. Emily, though still small, wanted to contribute in her own way. She watched as her mother gently cleaned Luna's wounds with warm, soapy water, her hands trembling slightly from the cold and concern. Emily handed her mother a towel when she saw that her mother's hands were full, eager to help however she could. As the day went on, the family worked tirelessly to nurse Luna back to health. They fed her small meals of broth, watching her slowly regain a bit of strength with each bite. Emily never left the dog's side, sitting on the floor beside her, offering soft words and gentle strokes to comfort her. Later, as the evening sky turned dark and the stars began to twinkle above, Luna's energy seemed to return. She no longer trembled from the cold, and her body seemed to be reacting well to the care she was receiving. She stood up on shaky legs, and though she wobbled, she made her way to Emily, who had fallen asleep on the couch beside her. Luna nudged Emily gently, causing the little girl to stir. Emily's eyes fluttered open, and a smile immediately spread across her face when she saw the dog. She reached out and stroked Luna's fur softly. "You're better now," she whispered. The dog looked up at her, her amber eyes softening, as though acknowledging that she was safe. That night, after a long day of care and attention, Luna lay down beside Emily, her body still weak but her spirit revived. Emily curled up beside the dog, her little arms around the German shepherd as they both fell asleep in the warmth of the house, a peaceful silence settling over them. And John stood in the doorway, watching the two of them sleep peacefully. In that moment, they knew that they had done the right thing. The dog that had been abandoned, alone, and freezing was now part of their family. They didn't know what the future held for Luna, but one thing was certain: she was safe. It was a simple act of kindness, a decision to bring a dog into their home when it had nothing left to give but its trust. And that decision, that small moment of compassion, would change their lives in ways they could never have imagined. Despite being only 3 years old, Emily's bond with Luna had grown so strong that it was almost as if she understood the dog's needs without being told. She spent hours by Luna's side, bringing her toy after toy, offering her soft, stuffed animals to lie beside. Her small hands, though inexperienced, carefully stroked Luna's fur as if she knew that the German shepherd needed more than just medical care. She needed comfort, warmth, and love. Every morning, Emily would wake up before her parents, her tiny feet padding across the cold floor as she went straight to Luna's side. She didn't speak much yet, but her eyes were filled with determination. She would carefully arrange the blankets around Luna, making sure her new friend was warm. Emily would gently take the bowl of food her mother had prepared for the dog and slowly set it in front of her, coaxing Luna to eat. At first, the dog's stomach was so weak that she could barely manage a bite. But Emily's persistence never faltered. She would sit beside Luna, her little hand gently tapping the bowl, and whisper, "Eat, Luna. You'll feel better, I promise." And slowly but surely, Luna began to show signs of improvement. Emily wasn't aware of the significance of the dog's recovery, but she knew she had to help. Every afternoon, when her parents were busy cleaning up around the house, Emily would slip away from their watchful eyes and sneak outside, bringing a fresh blanket or even an old stuffed animal for Luna to cuddle with. She would sit in the snow, her tiny body trembling from the cold, as she made sure Luna was okay. If the dog seemed uncomfortable or moved, Emily would rush back inside and ask her parents for more water or food to offer the tired creature. Her parents often caught her in the act, their hearts swelling with admiration for their little girl's dedication. And John would watch quietly from the doorway, marveling at the selflessness and empathy in their daughter's actions. They never had to tell her to care for Luna. Emily did it instinctively. She was a child of pure heart, and her tender nature had formed a bond with the dog that went beyond anything they could have imagined. John couldn't help but notice how differently Emily behaved when Luna was around. His daughter, usually so energetic and playful, now spent most of her time sitting quietly by the German Shepherd. There were moments when John would see Emily gently whispering to the dog, as if Luna could understand every word. Sometimes Emily would hold her stuffed rabbit to the dog's nose, as though offering it to Luna in a gesture of friendship. And Luna, who had once been wary of human touch, began to respond, licking the small toy or nudging it with her nose. Anne and John shared a quiet conversation one evening after Emily had gone to bed, their voices filled with awe. "She's only 3, Anne said softly, shaking her head in disbelief. "I didn't expect this level of understanding in her. It's as if she knows exactly what Luna needs." John nodded, his expression thoughtful. "There's something remarkable about the way Emily connects with her. It's like she's been sent here to help that dog heal." He paused, watching his daughter's small, peaceful form as she slept. Maybe it's not just Luna who's healing. Maybe Emily is too. As the days passed, it became clear to both of them that Emily was not just helping Luna recover physically, but emotionally as well. Though Luna had been abandoned and mistreated, there was a trust forming between the two, a bond that transcended age, species, and the scars of the past. Luna's trust in Emily grew steadily, and the baby's love for the dog bloomed into something extraordinary. The family's reaction to Emily's nurturing efforts was a mixture of pride and astonishment. They had always known their daughter was kind and sensitive, but they hadn't expected her to show such maturity in a situation so difficult for anyone, let alone a toddler. Emily had proven, in ways that were far beyond her years, that there was something deeply heroic about her quiet determination. The first time Anne saw Emily sit up late into the evening, her small face illuminated by the soft light of the lamp, she was sitting at the foot of the couch with Luna's head resting gently on her lap. Emily's tiny hands gently brushed Luna's fur, humming a soft tune that sounded so soothing it seemed to calm the entire room. Luna, once a fragile and fearful animal, was now content in the child's presence. She closed her eyes, resting fully against Emily, as if trusting her with her very life, and couldn't hold back her tears. She had never seen Emily more grown-up, more purposeful. It was as if the dog had awakened something in her daughter, a level of empathy, patience, and understanding that no one could have predicted. Anne reached for John's hand and squeezed it, her heart swelling with pride. They both knew their daughter had become an unexpected hero in the truest sense of the word. Emily's love for Luna was apparent not only in her care but also in the way she talked to her. She would spend hours talking to the German Shepherd, her small voice full of warmth and tenderness. Emily would tell Luna about her day, recounting every small detail with an earnestness that made Anne smile. It was as if Emily believed with her whole heart that Luna was listening. And in turn, Luna seemed to be listening, as though she understood every word. When Emily started giving Luna small tasks, like moving her legs or showing her how to roll over, it became clear that the baby was trying to help the dog regain her strength. The family watched in awe as Luna slowly began to regain her energy, responding to the baby's gentle commands with slow but deliberate movements. Luna wasn't just responding to the care of the family, she was responding to the spirit of kindness and patience Emily had offered her. John, ever the skeptic, found himself lost in admiration. "I don't know what kind of magic she's working," he said one evening, watching Emily playfully toss a ball near Luna, who managed to move a few steps to fetch it. "But I do know she's not just a little girl anymore. She's something more. She's the one who's bringing us all together, healing us all." As the days turned into weeks, Luna's condition improved beyond anyone's expectations. The German Shepherd, once a weak and injured creature, was now beginning to show signs of recovery. Her coat, which had been dull and patchy from neglect, began to shine again. Her once sunken ribs were now less visible as her body slowly regained its strength. And most notably, her eyes, those dull, lifeless amber eyes, had started to sparkle again, a sign that her spirit was slowly returning. Luna's recovery wasn't just physical. It was emotional. The trust that had developed between her and Emily was something powerful. Luna's once hesitant steps toward her new family had transformed into a confident, strong gait. She wagged her tail whenever Emily approached, her body no longer trembling at the sight of human touch. In fact, she seemed to be seeking Emily out, as if wanting her presence at all times. And it was all thanks to Emily's unwavering care. The baby girl, despite being so young, had become Luna's lifeline. She had done what no one else could have done. She had shown the German Shepherd the love and compassion that had been missing from her life for so long. One crisp evening, after an afternoon of play outside, Luna lay beside Emily on the floor, both of them content and happy. Emily's small hand rested on the dog's side, her fingers gently moving over Luna's fur. She smiled softly, her face glowing with a quiet pride. "You're getting better, Luna. You're gonna be okay," she whispered, her words full of sweetness and certainty. Luna responded with a gentle nudge, her nose pushing against Emily's hand as if to say, "Thank you." And in that moment, as the baby girl and the dog shared a tender moment together, and John knew that something extraordinary had happened. The bond between Emily and Luna was unspoken, but it was stronger than anything they could have imagined. It was a bond that had saved both of them, a bond formed not by words, but by love. And as Luna's recovery continued, the family couldn't help but marvel at the little girl who had become their hero. Luna's transformation from a cold, broken animal to a full-bodied, healthy German Shepherd was nothing short of miraculous. Each day, as the baby girl continued to care for her, the changes became more noticeable. It started with small things, the way her eyes began to brighten with curiosity instead of fear, or the way her steps grew stronger and more confident. At first, Luna had to be encouraged to move, her muscles stiff and underused from months of neglect. But over time, the once tired, slow movements were replaced with bursts of energy as she wagged her tail, eager to interact. The process was gradual, but it was steady. Luna's once matted and dirty coat began to shine with a healthy gloss, revealing the beautiful fur that had been hidden beneath the grime. And John took it upon themselves to bathe her once every few days, using gentle shampoo to ensure the softness of her coat was restored. It was a team effort. The parents did the heavy lifting, but it was Emily's gentle touch that helped Luna relax. As Emily carefully ran her small fingers through Luna's fur, the dog's body would tense at first, but then relax under the rhythm of the girl's movements. Emily's soothing presence had become the foundation of Luna's recovery. Each bath seemed like a small victory, her muscles becoming less tense, her fur growing back more shiny and thick. Slowly, Luna became more active. She started running around the yard, chasing Emily's ball and playing with toys, the joy in her movements a stark contrast to the stillness of her earlier days. At first, Luna would often pause after a few steps, her legs not used to such exertion. But as the days passed, she was soon running without hesitation, her playful energy beginning to return, her tail wagging happily behind her. It wasn't just physical recovery that Luna underwent, but a deep restoration of her spirit. Luna had been through so much that it was easy to see why her initial instinct was to remain reserved, cautious of the world around her. Yet with each passing day, as her strength returned, so did her trust in those around her. It was as though Luna was reclaiming the life that had been taken from her, piece by piece, and with every leap and bound, she showed the world that she was not only surviving but beginning to thrive. Alongside her physical recovery, Luna's emotional healing was equally profound. At first, she was hesitant to trust anyone, even Emily, who had shown her nothing but love. Luna's eyes would follow the baby girl's every move, always watchful, but still cautious, as if afraid of being hurt again. Emily, though, never gave up. She knew that Luna was fragile and that trust couldn't be rushed. So, she approached Luna gently, never forcing her to interact but allowing her the space to come forward when she felt safe. The turning point came one chilly morning when Emily, with her little hands, offered Luna a toy for the 100th time. She sat down next to the dog, her legs crossed and her arms outstretched with a soft, stuffed rabbit in her hands. Luna, who had been lying in her favorite spot by the window, lifted her head and slowly approached Emily. Her movements were hesitant at first, but as Emily smiled, patting the ground beside her, Luna took a cautious step forward. The moment Luna placed her head against Emily's lap, it was as if an invisible barrier broke between them. The dog's shoulders, once tense and rigid, melted. Luna closed her eyes, leaning into Emily's warmth, feeling the child's heartbeat beneath her fur. For the first time, Luna allowed herself to truly feel the comfort of another being, and the baby girl's soft touch helped her do that. Emily whispered in the dog's ear, her voice gentle and loving, "You're safe, Luna. I'm here." That moment marked the beginning of a deep, emotional bond between Luna and Emily. Luna had begun to trust the little girl. She had learned that love could heal. With each passing day, Luna became more affectionate. She started seeking Emily's company at all times, following her around the house, her body swishing in delight with every playful touch the child offered. Emily, in turn, was always there, kneeling beside Luna, caressing her head and offering her words of encouragement. Luna was no longer the cold, fearful dog that had been found lying in the snow. She had blossomed into a loving companion who had found her place in a family who cared deeply for her. As for the rest of the family, they noticed the dog's transformation as well. John and had initially been wary of Luna's ability to recover, unsure whether a dog with such a troubled past could ever fully regain her trust in people. But each new step Luna took, whether it was the joyful bark she gave when Emily ran outside to play or the soft nudge she gave to the family when they returned home, proved that Luna was more than just physically recovering. She was healing emotionally. It was a testament to the power of love, patience, and compassion. The bond between Luna and Emily grew stronger by the day. When Emily would cry, Luna would nudge her with her nose, as if offering comfort in her silent way. And when Luna needed rest, Emily would always make sure she had a quiet, warm corner to curl up in, placing blankets around the dog to ensure she felt secure. It was evident that the baby's unconditional love had begun the process of healing Luna's heart, helping her trust again in humans and the world around her. The bond between Luna and the family was a heartwarming evolution, as they witnessed the deepening connection between the baby girl and the dog. It was as if Luna had found her purpose again, not only in the care of Emily but in becoming a part of the family where love and compassion were the central pillars. While Luna had once been a victim of neglect, she had now become an essential part of a family that truly valued her. One of the most remarkable moments came one afternoon when Emily was playing in the yard, a ball in her hand as she ran toward Luna. The German Shepherd, now fully healed, dashed after her with surprising speed, leaping and catching the ball midair. Both Emily and Luna tumbled to the ground in a joyful heap, their laughter and playful barks filling the air. John and watched from the porch, their hearts swelling with pride and happiness as they realized how far Luna had come. The dog wasn't just a survivor, she had become an irreplaceable member of their family, a protector, a companion, and a friend. Luna's newfound energy was infectious. Her presence brought warmth to the home, filling it with joy and comfort. She became a constant shadow to Emily, always by her side during playtime, nap time, and even when the family gathered for meals. Luna would sit quietly in the corner of the room, her attentive eyes always on her little girl. The dog was no longer just a passive observer in her life. She was an active participant, sharing in the moments of happiness, love, and companionship. For Emily, Luna had become more than just a pet. She was a protector, a best friend, and a source of comfort. And for the family, watching their daughter interact with Luna, they understood that their lives had been forever changed by the love and bond between these two innocent souls. Together, they had turned a tragic story into one of healing, hope, and family. It had become a daily routine, Emily playing in the yard, Luna by her side, the two of them inseparable. The air was still crisp with winter's touch, but the snow was beginning to melt, and little patches of green peeked through. On this particular day, the sun was shining bright, casting golden hues across the backyard. It was the kind of afternoon that felt warm not just in temperature, but in spirit. John stood by the sliding glass door, sipping his coffee, watching as Emily waddled out into the yard, her cheeks flushed with excitement. Luna followed close behind, her tail wagging, her eyes alert and full of energy. It still amazed John how far the dog had come, from near death in the freezing cold to this joyful, bounding creature who now looked at the world with hope. Anne, who had taken to capturing moments of Luna's recovery for their personal memories, picked up her phone and pressed record. She hadn't planned anything elaborate, just a few seconds of Emily and Luna sharing another sweet moment. But what she captured that day was nothing short of miraculous. The video begins with Emily holding a worn-out toy rabbit in her hands, one she had originally given Luna on the first day they met. She kneels down, holding it out once again, as if offering it anew. Luna, now standing tall and healthy, approaches slowly and sits in front of her. She gently places her paw on Emily's knee, then lowers her head and leans in to rest it on the child's tiny shoulder. Emily lets out a soft giggle and wraps her arms around Luna's neck. There's no hesitation, no fear, only complete, unfiltered love. In that instant, Luna licks Emily's cheek with a gentleness that can only come from gratitude. Anne's hand trembled as she continued recording. She could feel tears building in her eyes. This wasn't just a cute video, this was the full-circle moment. A dog once abandoned and broken had just shown pure affection to the very child who had saved her. It was a silent thank you, a moment of emotional purity that transcended words. John stood behind and watching over her shoulder. "You got that?" he asked softly, and nodded. "I did," she whispered, wiping a tear. "I got all of it." That evening, and uploaded the short clip to her personal social media account with a simple caption, "From abandoned to adored. Luna and Emily, a friendship that saved them both." She didn't expect much. Maybe a few friends and family would comment. Maybe it would get shared once or twice. It was meant to be a keepsake, something to look back on. But fate had different plans. By the next morning, Anne's phone was buzzing nonstop. Notifications from Facebook, Instagram, and even YouTube flooded in. The video had been shared over 1,000 times within the first 24 hours, and the comments were pouring in faster than she could read them. People from all over the country, some even from abroad, were reacting with overwhelming emotion. A popular animal rescue page reposted the video, captioning it, "A baby girl and the dog she rescued. Proof that love has no language, no age." From there, the video took on a life of its own. It spread like wildfire. Major pages began picking it up, news outlets reached out for interviews, and hashtags like hashtag Luna and Emily, hashtag Frozen No More, and hashtag Baby and the Beast began trending on platforms like Twitter and TikTok. People were captivated not just by the tenderness of the moment but by the story behind it. A baby girl, barely able to speak in full sentences, had found a dying dog and given it a second chance. And the dog, in return, had shown a level of loyalty and affection that moved even the toughest hearts. The rawness of the video, its simplicity, was what made it powerful. There were no filters, no background music, no staged lighting. Just a child and her dog, lost in their own quiet world, reminding the rest of us what compassion truly looks like. News stations began calling. A local morning show requested the family to appear on air. Pet brands reached out offering free supplies and medical sponsorship for Luna. Emily, though still unaware of what going viral meant, noticed the increased attention. She was just happy to see Luna getting belly rubs and treats from the kind strangers who visited, smiling and thanking her for being a little angel. Anne and John were stunned by how fast things moved. Within a week, the video had surpassed 5 million views. People began creating tribute montages, editing the footage with soft piano music and overlaid quotes about kindness and rescue. Some people even painted portraits of Luna and Emily and sent them in the mail. But amid all the attention, the family remained grounded. For them, it wasn't about internet fame. It was about showing what empathy could do, even when it came from the smallest among us. John set the tone perfectly in one of the interviews when he said, "We didn't set out to make something viral. Our daughter didn't even know what that meant. She just knew the dog was hurting and she helped. That's all there was to it." The video touched hearts around the globe. Messages came in from people who said they cried while watching it, people who had once abandoned hope but found inspiration in Emily and Luna's story. One woman wrote, "I've been struggling with depression, and this video reminded me that love still exists in the world." Another comment read, "I rescued my own dog last year. Watching this made me hold him a little tighter tonight." Rescue shelters shared the video to promote adoption and raise awareness. Some reported spikes in inquiries and adoptions just days after the video went viral. The simple moment between a little girl and a once broken dog had started a ripple effect, one that would lead to real change. But perhaps the most touching reaction came in the form of handwritten letters sent to the family's mailbox. Dozens of them, letters from parents, children, veterans, and elderly folks, each one expressing thanks. Thanks for showing the world that even in its darkest moments, the light of compassion can shine through, often from the most unexpected places. The bond between Emily and Luna had become more than just a story, it had become a symbol of second chances, of gentle hearts, and of the healing power of love. And it all started with a baby girl who saw a freezing dog and simply decided not to walk away. It all happened faster than anyone could have imagined. Within days of the video's release, Luna and Emily's story was everywhere. It wasn't just on social media, it was dominating the headlines. Stories of their bond, their miraculous journey from the snow to a life of love, were shared across Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, resonating with people from all walks of life. The sheer rawness and simplicity of the video was what set it apart. It was more than just a cute dog video. It was a reminder of the tenderness that still existed in the world. People needed this. They needed to see that kindness wasn't lost. It was so easy to get lost in the noise of daily life, to forget that small gestures could change the world. But Emily and Luna's story brought that back into sharp focus. The power of compassion had never been clearer. The video was reshared by major influencers, animal rights groups, and celebrities alike. People began posting about it under hashtags like #SaveLuna, #LoveAndRescue, and #BabyAndDog. The video moved from one platform to the next, gaining millions of views. And then the news outlets picked it up. TV shows were discussing the viral phenomenon. Morning news anchors were showing clips of the two together, commenting on how rare and heartwarming this bond truly was. Emily's parents were overwhelmed by the attention. John and Anne had no idea their simple act of kindness would become such a sensation. They never thought the world would be so moved by their daughter's unintentional heroism. It was a beautiful reminder of how sometimes the smallest voices in the world, like a baby girl, could make the biggest impact. By the time the video hit 10 million views, the world knew about Emily and Luna. The video was shown on international news. Other parents began sharing photos and videos of their children with their pets, inspired by the simple but powerful connection between a baby and a dog. In the span of a few short days, Luna and Emily had captured hearts everywhere. It was as if their love story had become a global symbol of hope. Even those who had no connection to animals found themselves touched by the purity of it all. Emily and Luna weren't just a family's pet and child. They had become icons of compassion, healing, and second chances. As the video spread across the globe, people began sharing their own stories of animal rescue, adoption, and love. Comments flooded in from all corners of the internet. Some were from children who had seen the video and decided they wanted to adopt a pet. Others were from older generations who, through the video, were reminded of the deep bonds they had shared with their own pets in the past. One comment in particular stood out. It read, "I had to put my dog down last month. Watching this video made me remember the love he gave me. Thank you for bringing a smile to my face, Emily and Luna. This is what the world needs right now." There were countless others just like it. Thousands of people, each moved to tears by the compassion of a child and the redemption of a dog. Animal shelters began to share the video in an effort to promote adoption. The simple message of Emily's care and Luna's recovery had stirred something deep in viewers. They wanted to help, to adopt, to make a difference. In one case, a rescue organization reported a huge spike in adoptions that week. The video had shown people what was possible when animals were treated with love and kindness. Emily and Luna had become ambassadors for change simply by doing what they did best, loving unconditionally. Many people, moved by the message of rescue and second chances, also shared their own stories of how they had rescued animals, offering words of encouragement to others who were considering adopting a pet. #AdoptDon'tShop became another hashtag that flourished in the wake of the video's popularity. It was a viral movement, not just focused on the viral fame of Emily and Luna, but the larger idea of rescuing animals and giving them the care and love they deserved. The outpouring of love wasn't just limited to comments or social media posts. Some people began sending gifts to the family, blankets, toys, food for Luna, and even hand-knitted scarves for Emily. Each item came with a note expressing gratitude and a thank you for reminding the world that love was still the most important thing. But beyond the digital world, something else was happening. People were coming together to make real, tangible differences in the lives of animals everywhere. Local animal shelters were receiving more attention, and more people were coming forward to volunteer their time and resources to help rescue and rehabilitate animals in need. As their story continued to touch lives, it began to open unexpected doors for the family. Luna and Emily's bond had not just captured hearts, it had sparked an undeniable wave of public interest. People wanted to be a part of their journey, to contribute in any way they could. Offers started flooding in from everywhere. One day, the family received an email from a popular pet brand, asking if they would be interested in a partnership. The company wanted to sponsor Luna's continued care, offering to pay for her medical bills and provide her with high-quality food and products. In return, they wanted to feature Luna and Emily in their upcoming ads. The company believed that the public's emotional connection to their story would bring authenticity and heart to their campaign. While the family had no intentions of turning their newfound fame into a business opportunity, they realized this was a unique way to ensure Luna's future. The company also made it clear that all profits from the campaign would be donated to animal shelters in need, further fueling their desire to be part of this cause. Another opportunity came in the form of a major morning talk show. The hosts had seen the video and were so moved that they invited the family for an interview. Emily, Luna, and the family were flown to the city for the segment. They would share their story, spreading their message of hope and kindness to an even broader audience. Meanwhile, other businesses reached out, offering donations of supplies for the dog and baby, everything from puppy food to pet beds to baby gear. It was all offered with one simple request: a moment in the spotlight for their brand, but all of it felt secondary to the genuine joy and pride the family felt for their newfound role as messengers of love and compassion. As the weeks passed, it became clear that Emily and Luna had opened a door that no one could have predicted. They weren't just a viral moment in the world of social media, they were a movement. And opportunities continued to appear, ones that would allow them to give back and continue spreading the message of rescue and love. At first, the family tried to ignore the overwhelming flood of attention. They had never anticipated the viral nature of Emily and Luna's story. What started as a heartwarming rescue quickly transformed into an international phenomenon. While they were happy that their story was inspiring so many people, it wasn't long before the weight of their newfound fame began to take its toll. It started with the phone calls. Each day, the family's phone would ring nonstop with calls from media outlets, animal rights groups, and well-wishers from all over the world. John and Anne, who had always kept their family life private, found themselves caught in a whirlwind of interviews, phone calls, and requests for appearances. Emily and Luna's bond had captured hearts everywhere, but it also made simple daily life difficult. At first, it was flattering. People were reaching out to tell them how amazing their story was. But soon, the constant attention became overwhelming. There were fans who showed up uninvited, asking for pictures or wanting to meet Emily and Luna in person. Some even showed up on their doorstep, having driven hours just for a chance to see the baby and the dog that had touched their hearts. The family was unprepared for this level of attention. John and Anne realized that they had to make a choice: either embrace the fame and the attention that came with it or take steps to protect their privacy and the well-being of their family. Their life, once peaceful and simple, was now under constant scrutiny. There were also the paparazzi. Once the video went viral, the press began staking out their home. They would camp outside, hoping for a photo op of Emily and Luna together. The media's interest was unrelenting, and it quickly became clear that the family would have to figure out how to manage this spotlight while protecting their personal space. The strain of being constantly in the public eye was starting to show, and began to feel exhausted from all the interviews and requests. She loved the message their story was sending, but there was only so much she could handle. John, too, felt the pressure. His work schedule had been thrown off balance as he tried to keep up with the constant flow of media inquiries. Their quiet life in their small town was becoming a distant memory, replaced by a reality that required constant attention to the phone, emails, and social media comments. Emily, too, was affected. As the baby grew, she became more aware of the attention she was receiving. While she loved the affection that people sent her way, it also made her shy. She wasn't used to strangers showing up at her doorstep or calling her name out in the street. The family tried to maintain some semblance of normality, but it was difficult. Emily missed the days when she could simply play in her backyard with Luna without worrying about cameras and the eyes of the world watching her every move. The family began to make adjustments to protect their privacy. They started taking down their social media accounts and temporarily stopped posting pictures of Emily and Luna together. They didn't want their lives to be consumed by the fame, and they wanted to shield Emily from the pressures that came with being in the public eye at such a young age. But even as they tried to navigate the challenges of fame, the emotional toll of taking care of Luna long-term became evident. While rescuing Luna was one of the best decisions they had ever made, it also came with significant responsibility. The family had brought Luna into their home, and now they had to care for her, not just as a pet but as a living being that had suffered and been abandoned. It was an emotional and financial commitment that they hadn't anticipated. Luna was recovering physically, but the emotional scars from her past were not so easily healed. She had been through so much. The neglect, the cold, and the trauma from her time on the streets had left her with a wariness of humans. She was often skittish and cautious, unsure if she could trust anyone. Despite the love and care the family gave her, it was clear that Luna still had a long way to go before she would fully trust again. It was emotionally taxing for Anne and John to watch Luna struggle with trust. They knew she had been through horrors no animal should ever face, but it hurt to see her retreat into herself, even when she was in a safe place. They had to be patient, understanding that healing was a process, not a quick fix. Financially, caring for Luna also became a burden. Though she was now safe and healthy, there were ongoing medical costs for her recovery. Veterinarian visits, medications, and specialized food were essential to her long-term health. The family had to carefully manage their resources to ensure Luna's needs were met. They were doing everything they could to make sure she was comfortable, but at times it felt like the financial strain would become too much. Additionally, there was the responsibility of raising Luna's 6 puppies. They had committed to taking care of Luna, but now they had to take on the care of her newborns, too. Each of the puppies had its own unique needs, from feeding to socialization, and the family had to be diligent in making sure they were all growing up healthy. The puppies, despite being a source of joy and love, were also a significant responsibility. John found himself working longer hours to pay for Luna's care, and juggled household tasks while trying to keep up with the demands of their new life. There were moments when the weight of it all seemed too much. There were sleepless nights where they wondered if they were doing enough, if they were giving Luna and the puppies the best possible life they could. But despite the strain, there was an underlying sense of purpose. They had saved Luna, and they couldn't back down now. There was no going back to their old life before the viral video or before the rescue. This was their life now, the responsibility of caring for a dog who had been abandoned, neglected, and hurt. And they would give everything they had to ensure Luna and her puppies had the life they deserved. The family knew that they couldn't do it alone. They leaned on one another for support, finding strength in each other's love. Emily, too, took on her own form of responsibility. She was a young girl, but she had grown so much through her bond with Luna. She helped care for the puppies, feeding them and making sure they were always with their mother. It was incredible how a child so young could display such maturity. But in many ways, it was her love for Luna that had brought the dog back to life, and it was that same love that gave the family the strength to keep going. When Luna was officially adopted into the family, it wasn't just the end of her painful past, it was the beginning of a new chapter, one filled with love, comfort, and the chance to heal. The decision to make Luna a permanent part of their household was not taken lightly, but it was a decision that felt right. After all, Luna had been through so much, and now, surrounded by love, she deserved every bit of peace and happiness. The day they officially brought her into their home felt like a celebration. It wasn't just a change in Luna's life, but a transformation for the entire family. The first thing they did was set up a cozy space for her. They created a little corner in the living room, complete with a soft bed, her own toys, and a water bowl. Luna's tail wagged when she saw the space prepared just for her. The baby girl, now familiar with the dog's needs and habits, stood by, her eyes shining with excitement. Luna quickly became accustomed to her new surroundings. At first, she was cautious. Every new sound or movement made her tense up, and she would sometimes retreat to her bed, unsure if she was truly safe. But over time, as she witnessed the consistency of her new family's love and care, she began to relax. The family made sure to keep her routine predictable, feeding her at the same time each day, walking her at the same hour, and giving her plenty of time to just be a dog. The first walk with Luna on a leash was a small victory. The family had to be patient with her, encouraging her to move at her own pace. At first, she seemed hesitant, unsure of whether she could trust the leash or the humans walking beside her. But soon her confidence grew. She would wag her tail more freely and even start pulling ahead with excitement, her spirit beginning to bloom again. Her transformation was nothing short of remarkable. Luna's coat, which had once been dull and matted, started to shine again. Her body, once thin and frail, began to fill out. She became playful, running through the yard with the baby girl and joining in games of fetch. Her eyes, once guarded, were now filled with warmth and trust. Luna wasn't just surviving anymore, she was truly living, enjoying the simple joys of life once again. The family marveled at how quickly Luna had integrated into their lives. She wasn't just a pet anymore, she was family. There was a certain kind of peace that filled the house when Luna was around, as if she had completed a missing piece in their hearts. She had a special place in their home, not just as an animal they rescued, but as a beloved member of the family who had brought them all closer together. As the days passed, the bond between the baby girl and Luna deepened. It was hard to describe their connection, as it seemed almost magical, something beyond words. The baby had been the first to show Luna unconditional love and empathy, and in return, Luna had formed a deep attachment to her. The baby would often be found sitting beside Luna, quietly talking to her or gently patting her head. It wasn't just the affection that grew between them, but also a shared sense of comfort and understanding. Luna, who had been so frightened and uncertain when she was first rescued, now leaned into the baby's presence with a quiet trust. Whenever the baby girl was nearby, Luna's eyes would soften, and she would curl up beside her, resting her head on the baby's lap. Their playtime was simple but beautiful. The baby would giggle as Luna would nuzzle her, or Luna would gently nudge the baby with her nose, as if asking for attention. Luna had become more than a dog to the baby. She was her best friend, her constant companion, and her source of comfort. The baby's world had expanded, not just through her interaction with the dog, but by learning the value of empathy and care at such a young age. As they grew together, the baby girl also began to show a remarkable understanding of Luna's needs. She would make sure Luna had her food and water, and she always noticed when Luna seemed down or tired, sitting with her in silence, offering her the kind of comfort only a child could give. The baby's protective instincts kicked in, and she began to look after Luna as though she were her own little sister. It was touching to watch this small child, who had already shown so much care for Luna, become even more attuned to the dog's feelings and needs. The baby had learned something profound from her relationship with Luna: how to give love without expecting anything in return, how to be patient, and how to respect and care for another living being. As Luna's health improved, and the bond between her and the baby girl became unbreakable, their story began to resonate with many others. People across the world who had seen their story unfold, whether through the viral video or through word of mouth, began to see Luna not just as a rescue dog, but as a symbol of hope, resilience, and love. Luna's journey was a testament to the power of kindness and compassion. It reminded everyone that even in the face of cruelty and neglect, there was still the possibility for healing and transformation. Her story became an example of how love, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, could make a difference in the life of an animal in need. Luna was no longer just a dog. She had become a beacon of hope for others who had faced hardship or abandonment. Her transformation from a weak, frightened creature into a joyful, vibrant member of a loving family showed everyone that second chances were possible. Her journey also proved the power of the human-animal connection, the bond that could heal both the heart and the soul. The family received countless messages from people who had been touched by Luna's story. Some had been inspired to adopt animals from shelters, while others shared their own stories of animal rescue. The baby girl, with her innocent love and devotion to Luna, had unwittingly become an ambassador for compassion, teaching everyone that even the smallest among us could make the biggest impact. Luna's story didn't just end with her recovery. It continued to inspire and spread positivity, encouraging people to act with kindness and compassion in their own lives. Whether it was rescuing an animal or simply showing love to those in need, Luna had become a symbol of what humanity was capable of when we chose to act with empathy. In the end, Luna's new life wasn't just a happy ending. It was a beginning of a legacy that would continue to inspire others for years to come, reminding everyone that hope, love, and compassion could change the world, one act of kindness at a time. The story of Luna and the baby girl had not only transformed their own lives, but it had also sparked something much greater, the desire to help other animals in need. As Luna's story spread, the family realized that they had a unique opportunity. They could do more than just provide a safe home for their dog. They could help countless others like her. And so, the family set out on a mission to rescue abandoned and neglected dogs, offering them a second chance at life just like Luna had received. The decision to start an initiative was a natural extension of their journey. They had already witnessed firsthand the incredible healing power of compassion, and they were determined to extend that kindness to others. With a deep sense of purpose, the family launched a nonprofit organization dedicated to rescuing abandoned dogs, offering them medical care, and helping them find loving homes. They called it Luna's Legacy, a tribute to the dog who had transformed their lives and inspired them to take action. At first, it was a small operation. The family worked tirelessly, using their own resources and time to care for the animals they rescued. They began by partnering with local shelters, offering financial support and spreading awareness about the plight of abandoned dogs. The baby girl, now a little older, became an enthusiastic helper. She would often be found sitting with the rescued dogs, offering them gentle comfort, just as she had done with Luna when she was first found. Her love for animals had grown even more profound, and she loved nothing more than watching the dogs wag their tails in excitement as they received care. As the months passed, Luna's legacy grew. The family was able to rescue more dogs, provide them with the medical care they needed, and find them forever homes. Their initiative gained local recognition, and soon people from all over the community were reaching out to help. Volunteers, donors, and even veterinarians began offering their time and expertise. It was a true community effort, with the family at the heart of it all, continuing the work they had started with Luna. Luna, who had been the first dog they had rescued, became the face of the initiative. Her story was shared across social media platforms, and it continued to inspire people to take action. Donations began pouring in, allowing the family to expand their efforts and save even more dogs. The baby girl, now a young child, became a symbol of compassion, as her gentle nature and boundless love for the animals she helped made her a beloved figure in their community. In the quiet moments, when Luna lay beside the baby girl or when the family gathered around the dinner table, they often reflected on how far they had come. The pain of the past seemed like a distant memory compared to the joy they now shared. They had not only rescued a dog, they had saved themselves. And in doing so, they had begun to change the world, one dog at a time. Luna's transformation had been nothing short of miraculous, and her story, which had initially captured the hearts of those who followed it, continued to inspire far beyond what anyone had expected. The family's initiative, Luna's Legacy, quickly became a movement, encouraging others to act with kindness and empathy toward animals in need. What began as an individual act of compassion had evolved into a global message, urging people to take a stand for the voiceless creatures who needed them the most. As Luna's story spread, more and more people found themselves motivated to take action. Animal shelters received increased donations. People began adopting dogs who had been waiting for homes for years, and countless others started their own rescue initiatives, inspired by Luna's miraculous recovery and the baby girl's unwavering devotion. The power of Luna's story resonated far beyond what the family could have ever imagined. The story of the German Shepherd and the baby girl also sparked important conversations about animal cruelty and the importance of adoption over buying pets from breeders. People began to recognize the deep emotional bond between animals and humans and the profound impact they could have on each other's lives. Luna's legacy was not just about rescuing one dog, it was about changing the way people viewed animals and how they could each make a difference in their own communities. The family's work became a testament to the impact that one act of kindness could have. They were not just rescuing animals, they were changing lives. People began reaching out from all over, asking how they could help, how they could be part of this mission. The legacy they had started had grown into something far bigger than any of them had imagined, with its roots spreading into the hearts of thousands. The family's message was clear: compassion and kindness could transform the world. Whether it was through rescuing a dog, supporting an animal shelter, or simply adopting a pet in need, every small act contributed to a greater change. Luna had taught them this, and now they were teaching it to others. Through Luna's legacy, the family was able to inspire a new generation of animal lovers, people who understood the importance of empathy and action. They knew that with enough love and care, animals like Luna could heal and find happiness, just as the family had. The story was no longer just about one rescued dog. It was about a movement, one that brought people together with a common goal: to give animals the life they deserved and to continue spreading the message of love, compassion, and hope. Years passed, and the baby girl, now growing into a compassionate young woman, still had Luna by her side. The bond between them was as strong as ever, a reminder of the incredible journey they had shared. Luna, once a fragile and vulnerable dog, was now healthy, happy, and deeply loved. The baby girl had grown, but her heart still overflowed with the same love for animals that had first led her to rescue Luna all those years ago. The two of them, inseparable, continued to share their love with the world. Whether it was through the family's ongoing work with Luna's legacy, or simply by sharing their story with others, they remained a symbol of hope and compassion. Luna had come to represent more than just the resilience of a single dog. She embodied the power of love and the healing that could happen when humans and animals connected on a deep level. As the baby girl grew, she never lost the values that had been instilled in her from that cold winter day when she found Luna outside, freezing and abandoned. The love they had shared had not only changed her life, but it had changed the lives of countless others. And as Luna lay beside her, her head resting gently on the girl's lap, both of them shared an unspoken promise: to always be there for one another, no matter what. Luna's legacy, as well as the family's mission, would continue for generations to come. It was a legacy built on compassion, love, and the belief that one small act of kindness could change the world. It was a quiet evening, the kind where the sky painted itself in shades of orange and pink, and the world outside seemed to slow down. Inside the home that had once opened its doors to a freezing, frightened German Shepherd, warmth and love now filled every corner. Luna lay peacefully by the fireplace, her head resting on her paws, her eyes calm and full of life. Just a few feet away, the baby girl, now older, her laughter more mature but still full of joy, curled up beside her, a book in hand, her other arm gently draped over her companion, and sat by the window, sipping her tea, watching the two with a heart full of quiet pride. John stood behind her, one arm wrapped around her shoulders, as both of them reflected on how far they had come. What had started as an ordinary winter day had changed the course of their lives. "I still remember the first time we saw her," John murmured. "She was just a shadow in the snow," and nodded, her voice soft. "I never imagined she'd become family." They remembered everything: the raw fear in Luna's eyes, the trembling of her weak body, and the helplessness they had felt. But they also remembered the small victories: Luna's first wag of her tail, her first trusting nuzzle, and the way Emily, barely able to speak in full sentences, had sat beside her, offering toys, blankets, and love without question. It hadn't been easy. There were sleepless nights, vet visits, and doubts about whether they were doing the right thing. But each challenge had only deepened their bond, not just with Luna, but with each other. They had learned to work as a unit, driven by the purest motive of all, love. Luna had not just healed, she had healed them too. She had brought out the best in them, helped them grow stronger as a family, and reminded them of the beauty in giving without expecting anything in return. Looking at her now, healthy, peaceful, and surrounded by the love she once only dreamed of, they couldn't help but feel a deep sense of gratitude. Luna was more than just a dog. She was a symbol of every good thing they had come to believe in. At the heart of this entire journey lay one powerful truth: love heals. It had no language, no age, no boundaries. And in the case of Luna and Emily, it had spoken through a quiet, gentle connection that no words could ever fully describe. What had started as a simple act of kindness from a baby had become a testament to the incredible bond that can exist between a human and an animal. Emily hadn't rescued Luna with intention or understanding. She had simply acted out of empathy. Her heart saw pain and responded with love. And in return, Luna, once too broken to trust, responded with loyalty, gratitude, and affection that ran deeper than anyone could have predicted. Their bond was built on silence, on touch, presence, and time. It was a language all its own. They didn't need words to express what they meant to each other. A glance, a touch, a nuzzle, or a wag of the tail said more than entire conversations ever could. And that bond didn't just stay between them. It grew. It radiated into their family, their neighborhood, and eventually the entire world. Their story had become a reminder of what we are all capable of when we choose love over indifference. When we decide to stop and care, even if it's just for a moment. Luna and Emily had shown that acts of kindness, no matter how small, can change lives. That even the youngest among us can offer the most profound lessons in empathy and courage. And that healing doesn't require perfection, only patience, presence, and the willingness to love through the scars. For Luna, love had meant safety, security, and finally being seen for who she was beyond her pain. For Emily, love had meant connection, joy, and growing up with a friend who taught her about loyalty, trust, and the silent strength that comes from never giving up on someone. And for the world watching, their love became a mirror, a way to see what we could all be if we lived with just a little more tenderness, a little more compassion. In every shelter, there are dogs like Luna, forgotten, fearful, and longing for a second chance. And in every home, there are people like Emily, capable of offering that chance, even if they don't yet realize it. All it takes is one decision to care, one moment of empathy, one brave act of love. The story of Luna and Emily may have started in the cold, but it ended in warmth. And though life would continue, new stories unfolding every day, this beautiful tale of rescue, redemption, and the unbreakable bond between a baby girl and a dog would live on. It would live in every animal saved, every family brought closer by a shared act of kindness, and every heart that dared to hope again. Because at the end of it all, love is what saves us. It saved Luna. It grew in Emily. And it continues to spread quietly, powerfully, beautifully into the world beyond. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing tales. Until next time, keep your heart open and your mind curious.